For you as we have the former two-time world champion Vasquez up against the up-and-comer Drian Francisco.
A very, very big fight for Drian Francisco. He has had 17 fights, has never faced a quality of opposition such as Roberto Vasquez. Roberto Vasquez, you know, Panama was known for Roberto Duran, and boxing went downhill after he retired a little bit. Roberto Vasquez has been responsible for bringing boxing back to its level that it is now, where it's extremely popular, and that gives you some idea of how good Roberto Vasquez is.
Here are the rules. 10-point must system, 3 knockdown rule in effect, cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Only the referee can stop the fight, and if we have an accidental headbutt or an accidental foul, we go to the scorecards after the 4th round.
So clearly, Roberto Vasquez is the favorite going into this match. You'd have to give it to him, maybe 65-35 if you were looking at the odds. This is a big step up for Drian Francisco, but his management wants him and needs for him to get to that next level where he's considered in the top 10 in the junior bantams, and this is how you do it. You've got to take chances. You've got to fight the best if you want to be the best.
Vasquez in the silver trunks, Francisco in the colors of the Filipino flag.
Can you imagine being compared to Roberto Duran? I mean, at that level? I mean, of course, he's not quite at that level, but he is the most popular boxer in Panama right now.
The former world champion, WBA flyweight champion, and light flyweight champion. Won that titles back in 2005 and 2006. The 2006 was the flyweight where he lost or defeated Sakata in Paris, only to lose that title to Sakata some 7 months later. So it was a short-lived WBA flyweight championship. He held on to the light flyweight championship for just about a year when he defeated Vives Mendoza in Panama, only to retire Mendoza after KOing him.
I barely recognized Roberto Vasquez from yesterday at the weigh-in. He had a little trouble getting to the 115 limit. He was over by 1.5 pounds, and it took him 2 hours to take off the weight, and he looked positively gaunt. According to his manager, Carlos Gonzalez, last night, 6 hours after the weigh-in, he had put on 22 pounds. He was up to 137. That's incredible.
And certainly looks like the bigger boxer here against his opponent, Drian Francisco. Known widely here in the Philippines, but that's just about it. His last fight was April 19th in Quezon City when he KO'd the Indonesian Cheryl Fabano. But outside of the Philippines, you know, he is a relative unknown. Only 26 years of age. In fact, that equals the age of Roberto Vasquez. So definitely not a newbie as far as age is concerned, but has 18 fights to his credit. He is undefeated at this time with 13 knockouts. They call him Gitan Kamau, Golden Fists, here in the Philippines. And as my esteemed colleague said, certainly the biggest fight of his young career, as he goes up against a well-skilled and a former champion in Roberto Vasquez. And you know, you mentioned about the weight problem. You know, he has had that problem in making weights, even in the lower weights at 108 and 112 pounds.
This is only his second fight at 115. He lost his first fight to the very talented and world-rated Hugo Caceres from Mexico. That fight was in Panama City.
Yeah, the fans acknowledged a flying left hand by Francisco as we are approaching the end of the opening round. Oh, and a nice flurry. These guys didn't want to quit. Add a couple of more seconds to the opening round. I would say the same thing. You just couldn't tell. It's too early to tell. In his last fight, Roberto Vasquez lost a close decision to the #1 WBA contender, Hugo Caceres. That was held in Panama City earlier this year, March 24th. So I think a lot of these world championship fighters, they have few and far in between fights. And surely the ring rust, you know, can set in. It might take a round or two to get his boxing feet back on, and a nice left hand by Francisco stuns the former world champ. You know, in just looking at a couple of the early minutes of rounds 1 and 2, it seems Francisco, when throwing punches, seems a little off balance. Don't you get that,
yes,
that
he
notion?
Does. Crafty fighter. Without a doubt, the intangible here is the fact that Francisco fighting in the Philippines. This is the biggest stage he's ever fought on.
Going right into the attack was Drian Francisco. You know, I asked him, some say that he isn't ready for a boxer of Vasquez's caliber, just not ready. And I said, how do you answer that? He says, yeah, he acknowledged this is a big fight, but his trainer, his team, and even himself, they say, this is his time. Oh, and a nice left jab. Follows up with a nice overhand right that's blocked by Vasquez. But this is his time, he says. And, you know, we talked about the being off balance by Francisco, and there's a good evidence there as he goes flying into the ropes.
Yeah, very unorthodox style. One thing you notice about Francisco, he's not nervous. He's very relaxed, even so much to the point where he corrected the ring announcer at the introductions to make sure he got his province correct. You know, so he's very relaxed.
And a very smart guy, not just a smart boxer, but this is something that you don't normally find in the fight game. He's a college graduate, went to San Sebastian College and has earned his degree in commerce.
That's very unusual in boxing here in the Philippines.
Well, just not in the Philippines, I would say all around the world.
Sure. You see that? He throws. He reminds me of like Hasim Hamed. You know, just throws punches from all angles.
And that has brought this partisan Filipino crowd to its feet here in the Cuneta Astrodome.
Francisco's feeling it. He's getting some confidence.
Less than 10 left to go here in the second round. As Vasquez. Oh, and a nice left jab. Boy, a lot of name dropping in his corner. He is trained by his brother, Roger Vasquez, a former WBA Central American champion, and Rogelio Cousins, who have trained the notables of the likes of Roberto Duran, Hilaro Zapata, and Alfonso Lopez. So some good instruction and advice in the corner of the former world champion, Roberto Vasquez, as we are now into round 3, scheduled for 12.
Now Vasquez, this is a bit of a crossroads fight for him. His earlier career, where he won 2 world titles, is pretty much behind him now. He's moved up to junior bantamweight, and he lost his first fight at this weight of 115. And again, we talked about the motivational problems. Does he still want to be a world champion? And can he carry whatever power and speed he had at the earlier weights, at the lower weights, into this higher weight class?
Well, you know, Ted, we were talking before this bout about the pressure, perhaps, on the shoulders of Roberto Vasquez.
Well, for sure.
The shouldering, you know, the pride and the pride of boxing in his native country of Panama.
Well, the press is very hard on him in Panama. The boxing is probably the most popular sport in Panama, along with baseball. So they take a keen interest in it, and they will crucify him for sure if he doesn't win this fight. He's definitely expected to beat Francisco, especially in the eyes of Panamanians.
For some reason, the unorthodox and the off-balance shots coming from Francisco, I don't know if Vasquez is able to figure him out just yet. Perhaps never seen a fighter like him.
Great counterpunch from Francisco.
Oh, straight left hand found, and a right found its mark.
This is a little bit of Luisito Espinosa. This is not a Pacquiao here. Espinosa was slick and could come at you from all angles, and actually had pretty decent power.
Body shot by Vasquez. Straight left scores by Francisco. You know, what I'm surprised is speed. I would think that boxers at this weight class would be a little bit faster with the hand speed. And I just haven't seen that. I would think that if this guy was out of the same country that Roberto Duran had come from, the hand speed would have been, a little bit better. And I just haven't seen it thus far.
Don't forget, he put on 22 pounds in a matter of hours yesterday. So even his manager, Carlos Gonzalez, says that affects his speed. Obviously, that's going to affect your speed. Tough round to score.
Going to the fourth. Ranked number 8 in the WBA in the Super Flyweight division. And here's something crazy. Drian Francisco, who has not had a big fight to date, is ranked 2 positions higher than Vasquez at number 6 in the WBA. So that ranking system kind of thrown out of whack.
Well, Vasquez has really yet to prove himself at this division. He fought one fight at 115 pounds, junior bantam or super fly, as some people call it, and he lost that fight. So he's had problems with weight throughout his career, and right now he is got to find that motivation. He is in a real dogfight.
We're in the fourth round, scheduled for 12. Vasquez, known in his home country and around the world as La Araña, or the Spider, came out in the Spider garb, looking like Spider-Man. Oddly enough, even though he's called Spider, as Francisco has him up against the ropes now.
Good shot to the body by Francisco. And Vasquez really doesn't have an answer right now. I'm surprised because Francisco keeping his hands kind of low. You see him drop that left.
Well, to Vasquez's credit, he's blocking a lot of those punches. I mean, you see the experience of a former world champion.
Look how low Francisco keeps that left hand.
Well, anyway, back to my point that he's called the Spider, but he's deadly afraid of spiders. That's one of those things. He's called the Spider-Man, and he's deadly afraid of spiders. Once again, Francisco trying to cut off the ring of his bigger opponent. Yeah, I agree with you. Francisco is just unorthodox. He presents a different angle for you every time, and that's kind of hard to zero in on. Well, Vasquez changes levels right there.
Vasquez is a southpaw. That right hand is close to closer to the face of Francisco, and you'd think he would try to fire that right. You see that left hand so far down. Maybe he's been tagged a few times with the right hand, and he's just considering that. And Vasquez seems to be not quite loose yet. He seems to be a little bit sluggish.
It has been some time since his last fight, back in March of 2009. Wild swing by Francisco. Oh, and tags him there with the left. Nice left jab. And there's the bell, ending round number 4.
We have to see some of these replays. Francisco is throwing jabs with his head looking out in the audience.
So again, maybe to his strategy and what his plan coming into this particular fight was, Drian Francisco just posing all types of problems for Roberto Vasquez.
I got Drian ahead by 2 points, 39-37.
What can winning a fight like this over a named opponent do for the career of a Drian Francisco?
Well, it puts you in the ratings, it gets you noticed all over the world, and it makes you a very good opponent. Look at that!
Oh, and a big sweeping left hand, and down goes the former world champion! But up on his feet. He says he's okay. He's taking the standing 8 count. Boy, that was a haymaker that came in from left field.
And he's out of it. Right now, he doesn't know where he is.
And a big left hand and a right as Drian Francisco is beginning target practice. And Vasquez has to get off that rope.
He's got no answer. Vasquez has nothing.
He is picking apart the former world champion. Francisco, the bombardier of his own plane, opening up the payload and loading and dropping the bombs. And there was a big right hand. Vasquez does not know where he is.
He just has no answer, Vasquez. Francisco is just pouring it on.
I give Vasquez credit. He has taken a ton of shots and still continues to fire back.
But he really doesn't have anything. He's just hanging on. And he's been sluggish all throughout. And I'll give Francisco, he's the one that came out. He gets all the credit here. He came out totally in shape, totally relaxed and ready for this fight.
Boy, look at Vasquez is just standing right up like it's just not a moving target. Like ducks in a pond. And Francisco is taking full advantage. Boy, Vasquez is in a place right now, and it's not a good place.
Not at all. And this has been building up since the very first round. He never got unleashed. He never got out of the mud. He's been stuck, Vasquez. And Francisco just so unorthodox. Look at that.
Did you see that? It's like a Superman punch in mixed martial arts.
You got to love Francisco taking advantage of being on this stage. He wants to show his wares. He wants to show how slick he is. Opportunities like this don't come along too often in your life.
Oh, baby, what a show we have here in Manila. One I liked is when he was walking away and just says, here, I'm just going to leave you with something. Boom. And just hits him with the straight left hand.
What's amazing is that Francisco came out relaxed and confident, even though he was facing a guy who's at the top echelons of his sport and in his weight.
But serious now, as we have seen 5 rounds between these two combatants. I mean, are these two fighters on different paths? I mean, one going up and one obviously on the way down.
Right now, it looks like that.
And the convergence is right here.
Vasquez's manager admitted last night that this is a crossroads fight for his fighter. A very popular fighter in Panama has picked up where Roberto Duran has left off in terms of popularity and has brought the sport back. But right now, he is just getting his butt handed to him by Drian Francisco of the Philippines.
I mean, a virtual nobody, in the boxing world. But a beloved fighter here in the Philippines, and one that has been begging, has been asking, has been pleading to get his shot at someone of quality, of someone of name. And you're not going to find a bigger name at this weight, than a Roberto Vasquez.
Well, already, no matter the outcome of this fight, already Drian Francisco has proven himself on a big-time stage. No matter the outcome here, you will see him fighting some of the best in the world in this division, at the 115 division.
For Vasquez, this fight is being broadcast in Spanish by our counterparts just down the road here. And, he hopes that this fight isn't being televised in Panama. Because you told him that the press would crucify him about, a performance like this.
Well, certainly the people in Panama have never heard of Drian Francisco. So they were expecting that Vasquez come over here and totally dominate this fight. Now, we still have a long way to go.
Sure. And we might be just speaking out of turn right now, but from what we have seen thus far, it has been all Drian Francisco.
And very impressive. See that? He throws the punch. He's looking off to the side. That is so bizarre. Finally, Vasquez starting to connect a little bit. But you notice, Russell, Vasquez doesn't have the pop and the sting in any of his punches.
father very much part of his life, not only as a father, but also as a trainer in the early years. So as we start round 7, Vasquez, the 2-time former world champion in silver, and the widely popular, at least here in the Philippines, Drian Francisco, eating some punches right now. But it has been all Francisco up to this point.
Between rounds, when you looked at the close-up of Roberto Vasquez, you could see that that is not the face of someone who looks like he's really enjoying himself. That is the face of someone who is may not even want to really be here. He didn't look very comfortable at all.
Well, didn't his manager tell you, I mean, in almost in a bragging fashion, that, I mean, they went out eating. They went out, you know, to this place, that place, had sandwiches in the room, in the hotel room. And
he was packing it in.
Packing on the pounds. And, I mean, that's, okay, sure, you want to, you know, put your more, you know, muscle into your body after you've been, you know, dieting and try to cut weight here for the last couple of weeks, but adding on 22 pounds?
Well, he's so obviously sluggish right now. So it didn't do him any good to put on that kind of weight.
You know, he doesn't want to fight after putting on 22 pounds. He want to take a nap. And he may get his wish if he doesn't watch out against this fast hand Filipino. Left hand scores for Francisco. Nice jab.
I'm just amazed that Francisco.
Oh. Francisco now starting to go to town as the former world champion starts to cover up. Oh, that stuck in. Oh, that right hand got in there.
You better believe it did. And that body punch got in there.
You know, we talked about his eating habit. Vasquez needs to go on a diet, and he's getting a steady diet of left and right hands. To the head. To the body. Wow. You know, Vasquez just stood there and took it all, and to his credit, to his testament, he did take it.
But once again, he's got no answer for Drian Francisco. And he looks like he ate himself right out of this fight because he just can't move. And look, you would have to think that a guy of his speed and talent would be able to take advantage of a fighter like Francisco, whose hands are down below his waist. I can't recall the last time I've seen that, except maybe Nassim Hamed. And I like Francisco's cockiness. You know, that's how you're going to succeed. You got to be confident in your own ability. It's a buffet of leather.
Woo! A smorgasbord of shots. A cornucopia of collisions. Okay, I'll stop.
We thank you. Come on, you're telling me, look at the hands of Francisco. Now, maybe that's just the way he fights. We have seen throughout boxing, you know, there's always these guys who come along very unorthodox. But what is Vasquez doing to take advantage of that? Absolutely nothing.
He is like putting his face out there and daring him to hit it. I tell you what, this spider just doesn't have any sting. None whatsoever.
I don't think we've seen one good, solid, clean blow landed by Roberto Vasquez. And it's not the junior title that they have up for grabs here. This international title doesn't mean a thing. What means everything is the opponent that he is taking to school. Drian Francisco is doing right now. And the way he's doing it, this is going to really raise his profile in the junior bantamweight division.
Now he's got him stand up and go! And a big right hand rocks the head back of Vasquez. Stood him up, and almost put him down.
Look, Vasquez just doesn't want to be here. You can see it. He's just going to try to ride this out.
I don't know. Maybe if he gets out of here soon enough, he can make lunch. You know, it's really sad to see. I mean, you know, with all the accolades that you've heard about Roberto Vasquez and all his accomplishments, is that you see a fighter when he's on the downside of his career. And actually, you know, in talking with his camp, they were feeling that they could reverse that course and get him excited and motivated and be the Roberto Vasquez of old. I just don't think the kid has any heart anymore.
Well, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. No more comparisons to Roberto Duran.
Well, both Panamanian, that's where it ends.
You know, Vasquez has been credited in Panama with bringing boxing back into the limelight where it had fallen after Duran's retirement.
To win the WBA Interim Super Flyweight Championship. So it is 3-1 in favor of Panamanians in championship bouts against Filipinos. And so history has not been on the side of the Filipino fighters against Panamanians, but it is a different course of action and maybe a reversal of fortune here tonight.
Where's the footwork that we heard about? Where's the body movement? Vasquez just standing there.
I don't know. Maybe he knows something we don't, Ted. Maybe he's letting Francisco do all the fancy footwork, the no-look punches and everything. Maybe he has a different strategy and letting this kid, like, you know, play it all out for him.
No way. Ain't happening.
Okay, I was just throwing that out there.
He would have employed that strategy a few rounds ago already. He is getting taken to school by Drian Francisco.
Well, to his credit, you know, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, as Vasquez has seemed unfazed in every facet of this boxing match. You would think when somebody is hitting you with multiple shots and body shots into the head, and that you respond in kind.
Well, it's possible that he just can't because he worked too hard. He had trouble yesterday getting the weight off. They had to go to a sauna after the weigh-in, and he spent over an hour in the sauna just to try to wring out whatever water was left in his body. And I can tell you he was completely dehydrated when he went into the sauna. And then he turns around and packs on 22 pounds in 6 hours. That is not the recipe for health and physical fitness.
It's like Francisco was winding up for another bolo punch. Look at this awkward style here.
Never seen anything like it.
I haven't seen anything like it.
Except Nassim Hamed.
And it's too early to tell right now because we have a couple of more rounds to go. But, you know, how would he fare with other type opponents? I mean, certainly we've seen Roberto Vasquez has seen better days. But how would that style, that unorthodox dropping of the hands there in the defense, you know, do in other worthy opponents?
Well,
I think you pointed it out, but that face is for the taking. I mean, painted red. He's sticking that face out there. And Roberto Vasquez just doesn't throw a punch.
See that? He's looking down at the ground with his right hand down, and then he hits him with the left. Look at that. That is so weird.
I sincerely hope he's just not making a mockery, you know, of the whole thing. And that's his style. I mean, that's what he does.
What is his style? He's slick.
Yeah.
He's very confident. He's a naturally gifted athlete, is Francisco. So you can see that he likes to showcase and likes to showboat a little bit.
Well, you can see why Drian Francisco is a favorite here on Solar Sports. And the Philippines on the map. We're getting ready for the start of round number 10, scheduled for 12.
Vasquez is no really over-the-hill fighter in terms of age. He's only 26 years old.
But I think we pointed it out. He had a lot of success early, quickly. Nice roundhouse right, another right.
And wouldn't this be an exclamation point on a very fine and great performance?
Did you see that uppercut? I think if Vasquez gets into the corner up on the ropes one more time, he might be done.
Look at him looking down at his feet. This is a little bit of Sugar Ray Leonard here. Whew. Look at that, just total showboat, but that's okay if he can pull it off.
And the face of Roberto Vasquez, it is the same face that he stepped into the ring with.
Well, he doesn't want to be in the ring. He doesn't want to be
It is, yeah,
not comfortable.
From the get-go.
Wow. This could end in a knockout, or the referee stopping this. Vasquez looks wobbly.
And Drian is taking every advantage. I hope he has his hunting license because it is open season. Continuing the score from awkward angles and another uppercut, the second one of the round.
You know, one thing now, you are definitely going to see Drian Francisco starting to take on the likes of Nobuo Nishiro of Japan.
Yeah.
Maybe Christian Maharis, maybe Hugo Casares of Mexico. You will see him in the rankings of whatever organization, and you will start to see him get fights against top name opponents. And this is exactly what his dream was. This is why his management took a risk to face a guy of this caliber, because you got to take a gamble sometimes in order to reach the mountaintop.
Well, Christian Maharis of Mexico in the house today, sitting ringside, and oh, a nice overhand left. And now a flurry here at the end. Oh, big shot, and down goes the champion. The former champ is down for the second time in this fight, taking the mandatory 8. And when it is done, it is over. The new hero in Filipino boxing is Drian Francisco. I really thought that Vasquez would survive the round and just kind of get out of harm's way and then go to the 11th, but
you could
Drian Francisco had other ideas.
You could see that Vasquez was wobbly for a few rounds there. It was so obvious he didn't want to be here. Drian Francisco, a new face, a new name in the junior bantamweight division for all these top contenders now to look out for. The gamble paid off for Drian Francisco and his management team.
If you did not know about Drian Francisco before today, you know about him now.
You sure do. And that unorthodox style is going to attract a lot of attention. Let's watch the knockout. It's just an onslaught.
Wow. Wow. And that happened a couple of times here in this bout, but time was just ticking away here, and you can't be saved by the bell. And so there was only a couple of seconds left to go in the round, and that's all she wrote. Good night, Roberto.
You could not ask for a better result. An exclamation point on a superb career-defining performance for Drian Francisco.
And his parents right there. And they have to be a happy couple.
And make no mistake about it, this opponent, Roberto Vasquez, was no over-the-hill guy who they brought in order to pad the record of Drian Francisco. This was as good an opponent as he could face at this point in his career. Two-time former world champion. However, there was some question marks about his motivation moving up to 115. He lost his last fight, and now there's even a I mean, there's not even a question mark with Roberto Vasquez. He has got to seriously consider where he's going to go forward in his career.
Drian Francisco improves his record to 18-0-1, 14 knockouts. And the adulation of this partisan Filipino crowd. And for those of you watching in the States, remember this name, Drian Francisco. He is sure to be coming to a fight card near you. Let's now get the official announcement of this fight. We'll send it up one more time to Alan Sabalina.
Winner by technical knockout at exactly 3 minutes in the 10th round. And now the WBA International Super Flyweight Champion of the world,
Well, if you're keeping score at home, and I know you are, that is 4-0 now, Filipinos versus the rest of the world. And the last one coming of the hands of that white guy right there, Drian Francisco. Yeah, he wins this international WBA International Light Bantamweight Super Flyweight. But the more important thing is that he puts his name out there. If people did not know about a Drian Francisco, they do now.
That's correct. They heard it in Panama, they heard it in Mexico, they heard it in Japan, and they heard it all throughout the Philippines. The very unorthodox, unusual, slick style of Drian Francisco. Great job.
Opponent Drian Francisco, known widely here in the Philippines, but that's just about it. His last fight was April 19th in Quezon City when he KO'd the Indonesian Cheryl Fabano. But outside of the Philippines, you know, he is a relative unknown, only 26 years of age. In fact, that equals the age of Roberto Vasquez. So definitely not a newbie as far as age is concerned, but has 18 fights to his credit. He is undefeated at this time with 13 knockouts. They call him Gitan Kamau, Golden Fists, here in the Philippines. And as my esteemed colleague said, certainly the biggest fight of his young career, as he goes up against a well-skilled and a former champion in Roberto Vasquez.
Going into this match, you'd have to give it to him maybe 65-35 if you were looking at the odds. This is a big step up for Drian Francisco, but his management wants him and needs for him to get to that next level where he's considered in the top 10 in the junior bantams, and this is how you do it. You've got to take chances. You've got to fight the best if you want to be the best.
Vasquez in the silver trunks, Francisco in the colors of the Filipino flag.
Can you imagine being compared to Roberto Duran? I mean, at that level? I mean, of course, he's not quite at that level, but he is the most popular boxer in Panama right now.
The former world champion, WBA flyweight champion, and light flyweight champion. Won that titles back in 2005 and 2006. The 2006 was the flyweight where he lost or defeated Sakata in Paris, only to lose that title to Sakata some 7 months later. So it was a short-lived WBA flyweight championship. He held on to the light flyweight championship for just about a year when he defeated Vives Mendoza in Panama, only to retire Mendoza after KOing him.
I barely recognized Roberto Vasquez from yesterday at the weigh-in.
Oh,
he had a little trouble getting to the 115 limit. He was over by 1.5 pounds, and it took him 2 hours to take off the weight, and he looked positively gaunt. According to his manager, Carlos Gonzalez, last night, 6 hours after the weigh-in, he had put on 22 pounds. He was up to 137. That's incredible.
And certainly looks like the bigger boxer here against his opponent. You mentioned about the weight problem. He has had that problem in making weights, even in the lower weights at 108 and 112 pounds.
This is only his second fight at 115. He lost his first fight to the very talented and world-rated Hugo Caceres from Mexico. That fight was in Panama City.
Yeah, the fans acknowledged a flying left hand by Francisco as we are approaching the end of the opening round. Oh, and a nice flurry. These guys didn't want to quit. Add a couple of more seconds to the opening round. I would say the same thing. You just couldn't tell. It's too early to tell. In his last fight, Roberto Vasquez lost a close decision to the #1 WBA contender, Hugo Caceres. That was held in Panama City earlier this year, March 24th. So, a lot for you as we have the former two-time world champion Vasquez up against the up-and-comer Drian Francisco.
A very, very big fight for Drian Francisco. He has had 17 fights, has never faced a quality of opposition such as Roberto Vasquez. Roberto Vasquez, Panama was known for Roberto Duran, and boxing went downhill after he retired a little bit. Roberto Vasquez has been responsible for bringing boxing back to its level that it is now, where it's extremely popular, and that gives you some idea of how good Roberto Vasquez is.
Here are the rules. 10-point must system. 3 knockdown rule in effect. Cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Only the referee can stop the fight, and if we have an accidental headbutt or an accidental foul, we go to the scorecards after the 4th round.
So clearly, Roberto Vasquez is the favorite.